The fluorescent security light flickered above Marcus Chen's head as he locked the office building for the final time that night. Snow whipped around his thin jacket, each gust reminding him that winter had arrived early and merciless. His phone buzzed with a text from his neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, checking on 80-year-old Emma, safe at home, but probably still awake reading under her blanket fort. Marcus pulled his collar tighter and calculated in his head as he walked toward the bus stop. Rent was due in 5 days, Emma needed new winter boots, and his paycheck from the landscaping job wouldn't come until next Friday. The math never seemed to work out, no matter how he arranged the numbers. Before we dive into this story about unexpected kindness, drop a comment and let us know what state you're watching from. Have you ever helped a stranger during harsh weather like this? The bus was late again, and Marcus stamped his feet against the cold, watching his breath form clouds in the bitter air. He thought about the half-empty refrigerator at home and wondered if the leftover soup would stretch for breakfast too. Emma never complained, but he saw how she looked at other kids' lunches at school. A distant rumble cut through the wind, growing louder until a motorcycle appeared through the swirling snow, wobbling dangerously before sputtering to a stop near the bus shelter. The rider was massive, leather jacket adorned with patches, but Marcus noticed something else, a small bundle pressed against the man's chest. The motorcycle engine died with a final sputter, and Marcus heard something that made his blood run cold, a child's weak cough cutting through the wind. The rider pulled off his helmet, revealing weathered features and worried eyes. Jake Morrison looked nothing like the stereotypical biker Marcus might have expected, just a desperate father clutching his sick son. Tommy was barely 5 years old, his small face flushed with fever, lips tinged blue from the cold. His father's massive hands trembled as he tried to shield the boy from the wind. The motorcycle had broken down completely, steam rising from the engine in the freezing air. Marcus stepped forward, his medical training from his army days kicking in automatically. The child needed warmth immediately. Jake's eyes were suspicious, protective, but Marcus could see the fear beneath the tough exterior. No parent should have to watch their child suffer in weather like this. The bus finally appeared through the snow, its headlights cutting yellow beams through the darkness. Marcus made a decision that would change everything. Instead of boarding the bus home to his own warm apartment and sleeping daughter, he approached the stranded father and son. "Jake, the child needs to get warm now," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the storm. "My apartment is just 6 blocks away. I can help." Jake's eyes narrowed, studying Marcus's face in the dim streetlight. Trust didn't come easily in his world, but his son's labored breathing made the decision for him. He nodded curtly and gathered Tommy closer, following Marcus through the deepening snow toward the modest apartment building. The walk felt endless, each step a battle against the wind. Marcus led them up 2 flights of stairs to apartment 2B, his hands shaking as he fumbled with the keys. Inside, the warmth hit them like a wall, and Jake's shoulders sagged with relief. Emma appeared in the hallway, rubbing sleepy eyes, her favorite book still clutched in her small hands. She took one look at the sick little boy and immediately ran to her room, returning with her softest blanket and her stuffed elephant. "Here," she whispered to Tommy, "Mr. Peanuts always makes me feel better when I'm sick." Marcus's heart swelled, watching his daughter's instant compassion. He guided Jake to the couch and gently examined Tommy, his military medic training taking over. The boy's temperature was dangerously high, his breathing shallow and rapid. Marcus fetched cool washcloths and children's medicine from Emma's supplies. "We need to bring his fever down gradually," Marcus explained, his voice calm and professional. Jake watched in amazement as this stranger, this man who had every reason to turn them away, worked with practiced hands to help his son. The apartment was small, clearly the home of someone struggling financially, yet Marcus had opened his door without hesitation. Through the long night, Marcus monitored Tommy's temperature every 30 minutes, adjusting cool compresses and ensuring the boy stayed hydrated. Jake sat rigid on the edge of the couch, his weathered hands clenched into fists, watching every movement with hawk-like intensity. "You know what you're doing," Jake finally said, his voice gruff but no longer hostile. "Army medic," Marcus replied quietly, checking Tommy's pulse. "Sometimes the training comes back when you need it most." Emma had fallen asleep curled in the armchair, her small hand still reaching toward Tommy as if to comfort him even in sleep. The sight softened something in Jake's hardened expression. He recognized the fierce protectiveness of a single parent, the way Marcus moved through the apartment, checking on both children with equal care. As dawn approached, Tommy's fever finally broke. His breathing eased, color returning to his pale cheeks. Jake's massive frame sagged with relief, and for the first time since arriving, he truly looked at Marcus, seeing not a potential threat, but a fellow father who had risked everything to help a stranger's child. "Why?" Jake asked simply. "You don't know us. We could be anyone." Marcus looked down at the sleeping boy, then at his own daughter. "Because that's what fathers do for each other," he said. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains, and Jake found himself sharing coffee with Marcus while the children slept peacefully on the couch. The conversation came slowly, two guarded men learning to trust each other through shared exhaustion and relief. Jake spoke first about Tommy's mother, lost to cancer 3 years ago, leaving him to navigate single parenthood while maintaining his place in the motorcycle club. His voice cracked slightly when he described the sleepless nights, wondering if he was enough for his son. Marcus nodded with deep understanding, sharing how his wife died in a car accident when Emma was only 3. He talked about leaving his military career to be present for his daughter, taking whatever jobs he could find to keep them afloat. The sacrifices, the constant worry, the fierce love that drove every decision. "The rent's due Friday," Marcus admitted quietly. "I work nights at the security company and weekends landscaping, but it's never quite enough. Emma deserves better than this." Jake studied Marcus's face, seeing the exhaustion and determination etched there. Here was a man who had given everything for his child, working himself to the bone without complaint. The leather-clad biker and the struggling security guard found common ground in their devotion to their children. "You saved my boy's life last night," Jake said finally. "In my world, that means something. That means everything." Outside, a tow truck arrived to collect Jake's broken motorcycle. The mechanic had the bike running within an hour, the engine purring smoothly in the cold morning air. Tommy was alert now, his fever completely gone, chattering excitedly with Emma about her collection of books and drawings. The two children had formed an instant bond that made both fathers smile despite the impending goodbye. Jake pulled a thick roll of bills from his jacket pocket, pressing it toward Marcus with calloused hands. "This is for the medicine, the food, everything," he said gruffly. Marcus stepped back, shaking his head firmly. "I can't take that. You would have done the same for Emma." The refusal clearly surprised Jake. In his experience, everyone had a price, everyone wanted something. But Marcus's expression was resolute, almost offended by the offer. This man truly had helped with no expectation of reward. Tommy hugged Emma goodbye, promising to write her letters, while Jake lingered at the door. He memorized the apartment number, the building address, the face of the man who had shown him that kindness still existed in the world. "I won't forget this," Jake said, his voice carrying the weight of solemn oath. "My brothers need to know what you did here. Good people like you are rare." Marcus chin. He mounted his motorcycle, Tommy secure behind him, and rode into the brightening day, leaving Marcus standing in his doorway, wondering if he would ever see them again. 3 days passed like any other in Marcus's carefully structured world of survival. He worked his security shift, caught a few hours of sleep, then headed to his weekend landscaping job. Emma went to school with a lunch packed from their dwindling supplies, her backpack held together with duct tape, but her spirit unbroken. Friday evening arrived with the familiar weight of unpaid bills stacked on the kitchen table. Marcus counted the money from both jobs twice, hoping somehow the numbers would change. They never did. Rent would be 2 days late again, and Emma's school had sent another notice about overdue fees for the field trip she desperately wanted to attend. Emma sat at the small table doing homework, occasionally glancing at her father's worried face. She had learned not to ask about the things other kids took for granted, learned to be grateful for what they had. Her acceptance of their circumstances both broke Marcus's heart and made him incredibly proud. That night, as Marcus tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at him with serious 80-year-old eyes. "Daddy, do you think Tommy is feeling better now?" Marcus smiled, grateful for her caring heart despite their struggles. "I'm sure he is, sweetheart, and I'm sure his daddy is taking good care of him, just like I take care of you." The encounter with Jake and Tommy had already begun to fade into memory, just another moment of human connection in their difficult but determined life. Saturday afternoon found Marcus folding laundry while Emma played quietly in her room. The rumble started low and distant, like approaching thunder, but the sky was clear. Marcus paused, listening as the sound grew steadily louder, deeper, multiplying into something that made the windows vibrate. Emma ran to the front window, her eyes wide with excitement. "Daddy, there are motorcycles everywhere," she called out, pressing her face against the glass. Marcus's stomach dropped. His mind immediately went to trouble, to danger, to all the reasons a group of bikers might show up at his building. He moved to the window and felt his breath catch in his throat. The entire street was lined with motorcycles, dozens of them, their chrome gleaming in the afternoon sun. At the front of the group stood Jake Morrison, looking exactly as Marcus remembered him, but now he wasn't alone. Behind him stretched a sea of leather jackets, bearded faces, and concerned expressions. Every member of Jake's motorcycle club had come, and they were all looking up at Marcus's apartment building. Mrs. Rodriguez peered nervously from her first-floor window, her phone already in hand, probably ready to call the police. Other neighbors had gathered on their balconies, whispering and pointing at the unprecedented gathering. Jake stepped forward from the group, his voice carrying clearly through the afternoon air. "Marcus Chun, we need to talk to you." Marcus's hands trembled as he opened his apartment door, Emma close behind him despite his protective instincts. Jake climbed the stairs two at a time, but his expression wasn't threatening. It was something Marcus hadn't expected, grateful, almost reverent. Tommy appeared beside his father, healthy and grinning, carrying a small wrapped package. Behind them came a steady stream of bikers, their heavy boots echoing in the narrow hallway. Marcus pressed back against his doorframe, overwhelmed by the sheer number of massive, leather-clad figures filling his small landing. Jake's voice was thick with emotion as he spoke. "Marcus, I told my brothers what you did for us that night. How you took us in, saved Tommy's life, asked for nothing in return. In 40 years, I've never met anyone like you." The bikers behind him nodded solemnly, their tough faces showing unexpected softness. One stepped forward, a graying man with kind eyes, carrying grocery bags that looked impossibly small in his huge hands. "We heard about a good man who helps people," he said simply, "so we wanted to help back." More bikers appeared in the stairwell, carrying bags, boxes, envelopes. Emma peeked out from behind Marcus, her fear transforming into wonder as she saw Tommy's bright smile and the gentle way these intimidating men handled their precious cargo. The hallway filled with the scent of fresh bread and the rustle of gift wrapping. Marcus stood frozen as the bikers transformed his modest apartment into something magical. They moved with surprising gentleness, setting bags of groceries on his kitchen counter, stacking boxes of toys and books for Emma, filling every surface with abundance he had never imagined possible. Tommy ran straight to Emma, presenting her with a beautifully wrapped art set. "My daddy said you shared all your toys with me, so I wanted to give you something special," he announced proudly. The graying biker who had spoken earlier introduced himself as Road Captain Murphy. "We took up a collection," he explained, his weathered hands surprisingly gentle as he placed an envelope on Marcus's table. Every member contributed. Some gave cash, others brought food, clothes, toys. "We heard about Emma's school fees, too." Marcus opened the envelope with shaking fingers, his eyes widening at the stack of bills inside. It was more money than he made in 3 months, enough to pay rent for the rest of the year and Emma's school expenses besides. "But that's not all," Jake said, his voice proud and emotional. "Murphy here owns a construction company. He's got a foreman position opening up, days only, good benefits. Real steady work for a man with your skills and character. Emma moved through the room like a princess at her birthday party, overwhelmed by books, art supplies, and warm clothes that actually fit properly. The tough bikers smiled and chatted with her, treating her like precious cargo. Tears streamed down Marcus's face as he tried to process the magnitude of what was happening. These men, who society often judged harshly, had shown him a level of brotherhood and generosity he had never experienced. They had listened to Jake's story and responded with their hearts wide open. "I can't accept all this," Marcus managed to say through his emotion. "It's too much." Jake placed a firm hand on Marcus's shoulder, his own eyes bright with unshed tears. "Brother, you gave us everything when we had nothing. You didn't hesitate, didn't ask questions, didn't want anything back. That's rare in this world, rarer than you know." Murphy stepped forward with a business card. "The job starts Monday if you want it. Good pay, honest work, and you'll be home every evening with Emma. Jake told us you're former military, and that's the kind of man I need running my crews." The apartment buzzed with quiet conversation as the bikers shared stories with Emma, teaching her about motorcycles and showing her pictures of their own families. These weren't the dangerous criminals people might assume, but fathers, grandfathers, working men who understood the value of helping someone who had helped them. As the afternoon wore on, Marcus realized this wasn't just about repaying a debt. These men were offering him something he had lost when his wife died: a community, a brotherhood, a support system for both him and Emma. 6 months later, Marcus stood on his new construction site, wearing a hard hat with "Foreman" printed across the front. The steady paycheck from Murphy's company had transformed their lives completely. Emma attended her school field trips now, her backpack new and sturdy, her lunchbox filled with choices instead of necessities. Their apartment had been upgraded to a small house with a yard where Emma could play safely. The walls were lined with her artwork, created with the supplies Tommy had given her that magical afternoon. Photos covered the refrigerator, showing barbecues with Jake's family and group rides where Emma rode safely in Murphy's sidecar. Jake and Tommy visited every few weeks, their friendship with Marcus and Emma growing deeper each time. Tommy was thriving, and Jake often said that Marcus's kindness had reminded him that good people still existed in a world that sometimes felt dark and dangerous. On this particular evening, as Marcus helped Emma with her homework at their new kitchen table, she looked up with those serious 80-year-old eyes that always melted his heart. "Daddy, remember when you helped Tommy that snowy night?" she asked thoughtfully. Marcus nodded, smiling at the memory that had changed everything. If this story of unexpected brotherhood touched your heart, please drop a comment and share your favorite moment, or tell us about a time kindness came back to you in an unexpected way. "That's what good people do," Emma said simply, echoing his word from that life-changing night.